Hello everyone, this is Teacher Donna and I'm going to discuss with you IELTS writing. So to begin with, let's ask what is in the writing test of IELTS? There are two compulsory tasks to complete in 1 hour. The task may relate to any topic. The topics are of general interest and do not require special knowledge. Now we have two tasks to complete in an IELTS writing test. First, we have task 1, wherein you have to write about 150 words, and in task 2, you have to write about 250 words. Task 1. In task 1, you have to summarize the information shown in the figure. It can either be a chart, a graph, a table, a map, a diagram. Even process is part of task 1. To do this, you have to select the main features, the trends, you have to make comparisons where relevant. You will be given 20 minutes to complete writing task 1. Now, in writing task 2, you have to write a discursive essay on a given topic that has a clear logical structure. You will be given 40 minutes to complete the task. Okay, so what is the exam skill focus of Unit 1? First, we have here define information in a diagram. Second, describe key trends. Third, vary language. And four, write about trends. Okay, so let's discuss describing trend data. What is a trend? It is actually a general direction in which something is changing. A trend is over a period of time. So if there is change over a period of time, then we can say it's showing a trend. There are two forms of data used in task 1 writing. We have trends and data in sets. In this unit, we are going to focus on writing trend data. Next, the data are in percentage, number, or amount. So you have to be careful what kind of information is given in the bar chart or in the graph or in a pie chart. In a bar chart, table, or graph, when the information is expressed in a period of time, the data are in trends. You have to describe trends in the summary and make comparisons where necessary. You have to find similar data and you have to compare them. If there are striking differences in the data, you have to contrast. In describing trends, you describe every main trend, not every change. Later on, I'm going to show to you what I mean by that. Okay, so take a look at this bar chart. What information can you see on this chart? Alright, so based on the information shown in that bar chart, please answer these questions. Number 1, the data covers a period of about 40 years. Is it true or false? Is it about 40 years? Let's take a look. It started in 1970, ended in 2009. So, yep, that's about 40 years. Number 2, the number of people attending school went down. Is it true or false? Alright. Up or down? You see, they actually went up. So it is false because if you're going to take a look at 1970 to 2009 for primary, so it's increasing, no? Secondary, also increasing, and tertiary, it also increased. Next, fewer people went to university than to primary school. All right, so there, you can actually compare. So the students enrolled in tertiary were actually much lower. All right, and there were about 400 people in primary school in 1970. So primary school, 1970. So this is the data, 400. This is false. Now you have to make sure that you are looking at the right information. You have to take a look at the information in this part. See, what's written here is that enrolled students, millions. So it is not 400, but it's 400 million. A lot of students make mistake in writing this part because they fail to look at the information given here. You have to make sure about the data that you are writing about. Maybe it's hundreds, maybe it's thousands, millions, percentage. So you have to make sure that the data that you are writing is correct. All right, so these are the parts of a bar graph. Now, this part is the key or the subject, the one that you're writing about. Now, the horizontal axis, this is the data showing the point of comparison and contrast. All right, so what information are you going to compare and contrast? So you can compare primary school with secondary school, with tertiary school or the university. And then on the vertical axis, this part, this is actually showing the topic of writing. So you're talking about what? What's your topic? You're talking about the number of enrolled students. Now, in writing the introduction for trend data, you have to look at the bar charts on the previous slide and try to think what it shows. So you can answer the question and it will help you form your introduction. So the bar chart shows what does it show? Number of students who enrolled in 3 levels of education from 1970 to 2009. Okay, so complete the following information. You may complete this exercise by downloading the slide or the PDF file that's uploaded in our Moodle classroom. Alright, so let's continue. When writing a summary about a trend diagram, like a chart or a graph, you have to start by writing what the diagram shows. So what is this showing you? Practice writing introductions based on the information 1 to 5 below. So take a look at number 1. Okay, this is the information that it's telling us. Visitor numbers to Oman 2000 to 2010. So you can start by writing the chart shows the number of people who visited Oman from 2000 to 2010. So what have you noticed? We did not simply copy the information. You have to paraphrase. Paraphrasing is very important when you are writing. Do not simply copy. So if you say the chart shows the visitor numbers to Oman, then it's like you are just copying everything word per word. So do not do that. you have to try to paraphrase. Look for other words or other terms that you can use instead of the ones shown. So let's practice some more. All right, let's take a look at number 2. So what's given here? Number of hours of television watching, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So how do you think can you paraphrase this? So you can start by saying the diagram or the chart or the graph shows what? What does it show? It shows the number of hours. So do we have any other term that we can use instead of this? So you can actually say the amount of time. So number of hours is the same as amount of time, right? So you can say the amount of time viewers spend watching TV. The amount of time viewers spend watching TV from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. All right, so you can do the rest. The answer key for this, I'm going to upload in our Moodle classroom. Now, let's proceed to writing a general idea. Read the 2 descriptions below of the bar chart on the previous slide. Which one provides a description of the key trend? Is it A or B? The first one, the bar chart shows the number of people in education globally. In all sectors, numbers increased dramatically in the 40 years from 1970 to 2009. Now, the second one, the bar chart shows the number of people in education globally. In 1970, there were 400 million children in primary school. This figure grew to 650 million in 1990, which is showing us the general idea. Okay, it's letter A. Actually, when we are talking about the general idea for trend, the general idea is showing the key trend. All right, so here you see it's showing the key trend increased dramatically, whereas in B it's showing us, what does it show? It's showing us the exact numbers. It's not the key trend. It's not the general idea. It's showing the specific information. Alright, so let's move on to the language of trends. When you are writing trend data, you have to make sure that you know how to vary your language. So please do this activity. You have to put the words in the correct column of these tables. So we have your verbs in the past tense. So you have to select the words from this area and put them in the correct boxes. So we have verbs in the past tense, we have adverbs, we have nouns, we have prepositions, and we have adjectives. Once you're done, you may check your work. Proceed to the next slide. Alright, so I think this activity will be better if you download the exercise or the PowerPoint file from our Moodle classroom. So just answer the activity and then get the answers from the next slide. Now let's try to look back at the bar chart that we had earlier. Answer the following questions. Does the description of the text include all the details in the bar chart? Why do you think the writer of this text chose to focus on these pieces of information? Let's go back to the answer to the activity earlier. The bar chart shows the number of people who were in education from 1970 to 2009. In general, we can see that, so the answer is B. The number of people rose dramatically in all sectors. Looking in more detail, the bar chart illustrates that the number of students who attended tertiary education rose dramatically from just 30 million in 1970 to around 160 million in 2009. Take note, it was mentioned here 30 million in 1970 to around 160 million in 2009. So, does the description or the text include all the details in the bar charts? Yes or no? This is the bar chart. So the answer is no. Why? Remember, it mentioned 1970 and 2009. So the data or the information in 2000 was not mentioned. Why do you think so? That's the second question. Why do you think the writer of this text chose to focus on these pieces of information? Because when we are writing trend data, we are actually focusing on the trend, okay, the change. So, did it increase or decrease? Is it showing an increasing trend or decreasing trend? Okay, so this thing in between, you don't actually look at it per se. You have to focus on the first and the last information because the first and the last information is going to show you the trend. Okay, now let's move on to varying language. Look at the sentences. How are the phrases in bold different? See, the first one, the number of students that attended tertiary education rose dramatically. Now, the second one, there was a dramatic rise in the number of students that attended tertiary education. So both of them, they have the same meaning. In fact, this part is the same. The number of students that attended tertiary education. See, it's the same, but what's the difference? So the first one, rose dramatically, we have verb adverb combination. Okay, rose dramatically, increased significantly. That is another example of verb adverb combination. Now, on the second one, we have dramatic rise. Dramatic rise. So, what do we have here? We have adjective, noun combination. So, in this way, you will be able to vary your language. Okay, so by varying your language, you will be able to answer the following activities. So try to vary the languages of the sentences 1 to 4 by changing the phrases in bold. So let's try the first one. The number of female students in Eastern Europe declined steadily. Declined steadily. So how do you think you can vary the language in this sentence? There was a steady decline in the number of female students in Eastern Europe. Okay, so please answer the rest of the activities and then check your answer against the answer key in our Moodle classroom. Okay, so again, general tips in writing trend data or describing a trend data. The first thing that you have to do is to look for the general trend. How to do this? You have to look at the starting data and the final data. Let's take a look. Okay, so when we say look at the starting data and the final data, that's the time that you can know the trend. So example, look at the yellow line. So the starting data is about 30%, right? Now, the final data is about like 28. So 30 to 28. Did it increase or decrease? So it decreased. So the trend is decrease. Now, look at the orange line. The initial data is about 24. The final data is 31. Okay, so it's 31%. So did it increase or decrease? 24 to 31. It increased. All right, so that's how you are going to know or going to determine the trend, the general trend of your data by looking at the first information and the last information on your line. Okay, so it is actually the same for um, bar chart or line graph. As long as you have these numbers below, see, there's a change over time. Remember, trend data shows change over time. If there's no change over time, then it is not a trend data. All right? So if there's a change over time, it can be months, it can be days, it can be years. If if it is changing over time, then that is a trend. Okay? So what's the other thing you have to know? You have to group similar trends together. What do we mean by that? If you have multiple lines in your data, you have to put similar trends together. Put all increase together and put all decrease together. Okay? After that, what if all the keys show the same trend? Like all of them increased or all of them decreased? If it's like that, you have to group them based on the amount of change. So if you take a look at this data, all of them increased actually. So this increased, right? So secondary also increased and tertiary also increased. So how are we going to group them? So by the amount of change, is it a big change or small change? So you just have to subtract the first data from the last data. So 700 million minus this one. So 700 minus this 410, and that is the amount of change. So this minus this. Okay? And then put all the similar changes together, big change and small change. Okay, next, number 4, make sure to include the general trend and the key with the biggest change or number. Okay, general trend, all of them increased, all of them decreased, or what? So we'll see that later on. Okay, I prepared here like a template when you are writing your trend data. So you can start by writing what kind of figure do you have in front of you? Is it a pie chart? Is it a bar graph? Is it a table? Is it a line graph? So we just have to determine what it is. Shows, presents information, illustrates. So there are a lot of verbs that you can use here. So you just have to choose what you want to use. The, so what information you have on your vertical axis. You still remember? Okay, for example here, this is the vertical axis, the number of students enrolled. Okay. Key. What is the key? 1970 to 2009. This is the key. Okay. This is actually the year. You can put it here. The horizontal axis. Oops, sorry. Okay. The number of students enrolled in primary, secondary, and tertiary school from 1970 to 2009. Okay. In general, we can see that. So what's the topic? Increased considerably in, so you can say, for example, the number of students increased considerably in which one? Primary, secondary, or tertiary? Okay, if you have different trends. Okay, but if you have all trends the same, so all of them are the same, what do you have to do? You have to say it. Okay, so you can say in this case, in general, you can see that the number of students in all information in the horizontal axis increased dramatically. Okay, now in writing, your body, you can say it's the body of your um, data, looking first at what key. So let's actually look at the primary one. Okay, looking first at primary school, the number of students, what is the trend, increased or decreased? So you can say, looking first at primary school, the number of students increased from, what is the amount? Approximately 400 or a little over 400 million to around, so what is this? 700 million in, what is year? 2009. So you have to follow the same pattern for all keys. All right. You can use by contrast if you are contrasting two things. So, for example, you put all increase together and all decrease together. So you put by the first part here, you put all the increase, and then the second part you put all the decrease. Now, if all of them increase, you can separate them by calculating the amount of change. Okay, so here you can put here the big change, and this part you can put the small change. Okay, and what else? If you are writing the same trend, so for example, you mention here looking first at, and you talk about primary, it's increased, and then you're going to talk about secondary and increased as well, you can say similarly. Okay, so that's it. Now we have here exam practice. Don't forget to do your assignment and submit it before the deadline. If you have any questions, please send a message to me, or you can post it in our forum. You can also send a chat message to me in Moodle chat room. Again, you may visit my website teacherdonna.tk to practice more and to download more activities and handouts. So I'll see you again. Bye bye.